Hello, everyone. Semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Say hello as you're coming in. Don't forget to let me know that you can hear me. I always worry about that when I first start a live stream because you just never know what's gone wrong in the process of testing to actually hitting the go live button. First order of business, as it says in the title, we've got 2 weeks, actually 1 day less than 2 weeks, till the July 27th get together. That's right here in Omaha at the miniature golf course. If you need directions or instructions or anything, send me an email at SemiRetiredBob@yahoo.com. We're going to get together about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. That's the day before the Omaha Hard to Kill Summit. So that's 2 weeks away. So far, I've only gotten a couple of confirmed, so we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm going to be up there. I'm going to be cooking some hamburgers, and if a couple extra people show up, I'll have enough hamburgers for a couple extra people. But if you know you're going to come, please let me know so I can make sure to have enough hamburgers for everybody. The next thing I want to talk about before I get into the comments is Sunday, July the 23rd. That's not 2 days from now, but next Sunday. Sunday, July the 23rd at 5 p.m. Central is the members-only Zoom call. So if you're not currently a channel member, you do still have time to get in on that. Just go down below the video, click the join button, and you'll be in for the July Zoom call. Okay, I think I've had enough of this. I'm not a doctor. Let's go ahead and change that banner to something a little better. Let's switch over to the email in case you decide you want to sign up for the get-together or anything else. You can always send me questions. Of course, right now you can put questions in the comments, and we'll get to those. Let's see who else here. Of course, Rick is here because he's going to get to catch this one live because he's caught the cold that everyone else he knows has. Sorry to hear that, Rick, but I am glad you get to catch the show live. Addicted to Antlers is here. Hello to you. And Rick lets me know that, yes, he can hear me, and it, of course, jumped on me there. Good afternoon from Copper Hill, Tennessee. I see that an awful lot in my comments because you always say hello from Copper Hill, Tennessee. Where exactly in Tennessee is that? Is that East, Central, or Western Tennessee? And Sheila says that she can hear me as well. Excellent. Hi, Bob. Sounding just fine. Hello to you too, John. Jam wants to know, when are you moving to Texas, Bob? I'm going down this fall. I don't know exactly when. I'm going to do some initial work. I'm hoping to get my shipping container delivered and on a level platform and maybe get started on the roof over top of it this winter. It's going to be a couple or 3 years before I can move down there full time because I want to get the shipping container set on a solid foundation. I want to build a big roof over it so that I can collect rainwater. And I want to fill earth bags around the outside of it and get those covered in some kind of mud cob to protect them from the sun, so that I've got basically 25 to 30 inches of insulation all the way around it. And then on the roof, because the shipping container has a roof and then there'll be another roof over top of that, it won't be so exposed to the elements. I'm planning on just taking straw bales and filling that gap between the two roofs with straw bales and then spraying them down with a mud slip, which is basically just muddy water that will harden and keep bugs and things out of the straw. And that straw should provide plenty of insulation through the roof so that it doesn't really take very much heating or cooling to keep it a pleasant temperature inside the shipping container. And once I know I've got enough insulation that on the very hottest 100 to 110 degree days down in the desert, I can still keep it at about 80 with minimal power usage inside the shipping container. that's when I'll probably move down there full time and start raising some chickens and some other things. But I'm going down during the winters for the next couple of years to start working on stuff. I don't really have an opinion on that. As long as, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that. There are still chemicals, so depends on how it makes you feel. Of course, there is some sweetener in sugar-free gum, which some people have reaction to, some people don't. And there are some chemicals in sugar-free gum that some people have a reaction to, some people don't. I would just try it 1 week with chewing the gum and then 1 week without. And if you notice a marked difference, I'd get rid of it. But if you don't notice a big difference, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. I have to look over here because I'm having a hard time reading on the small screen. Hit the like button, everyone. Thank you. And Jeannie is here. I'm assuming she meant to say made the live as opposed to made the love, but thank you, Jeannie. I'm glad you're here. Bob, you sound good today, but I would prefer your Elton John glasses. Will you put them on, please? Well, see, it's daylight here, Craig, and the blue blockers are back over there on my nightstand, so I have to get up and walk across the room to put those on for you. I appreciate that you like those, but I can't go get them. They're over there. I haven't actually set it. My normal time is 4:30 Central Time, but because I work on Friday nights right now this time of year, I've been experimenting with between 2:15, and 2:30 to see what lets me get a live in plus get to work on time. Oh, by the way, the owner, in case I get a phone call, I may have to shut down the live a little early. It's been raining here all day. The owner is out of town, so if they need my help pumping water off the course to get reopened for the evening, I may have to go in early. So just be aware of that. If I say, oh, sorry, guys, I got to go, that's what's happened because it's been raining and storming here pretty much all day. But I've just been sort of playing with times that may or may not work. My usual time, JM, once I get past the summer working season again, and I only got, I think it's counting tonight and then taking because I'm going to be off the weekend of the Omaha Hard to Kill Summit. I think after tonight, I only have 4 more Fridays left. Then school will start, and schools will have Friday night football, and business drops way off. It's not too people busy, and I'm the second person on Friday, so I think I've only got after tonight 4 more Fridays that I have to work, and then we'll go back to our regular time. And Addicted to Antlers is saying hello to Sardine Man, which is Craig, for those that don't know. Carno Dane, hello from Newcastle, UK. Hello across the water to UK. Yes, I cut my hair. I do it myself about twice a year. If you go back through my videos, you'll find that it was the middle of January or so that I cut my hair off to this short. And now it's the middle of July. I've cut it off short again. I cut it about twice a year. And I've done it with the same set of clippers that I bought from Amazon like 20 years ago. And I spent like 18 or 19 bucks on them then. I bought those like 20 years ago when the price of the barber shop I was going to went from $11 to $12, and now I guess it's like $20 for a haircut. So one haircut covers the cost of the clippers. So everything I've done since then has been basically free money. So, that's it's a little, It's a little shorter than I like, but I used to have those little guides that would keep it a little longer, but I have since misplaced those moving between here in North Carolina and here in New Orleans and all that. I don't know where the guides are, and I don't care. This looks just fine, and this cut lasts me a full 6 months before I get the urge to cut it again. I think Rick has the duck virus. That's funny. Hello from Germany, Bob and friends. Hello, Karsten. I'm glad you're here. So we got UK checking in. We've got Germany checking in. And Mike is here. Hello, Mike. Glad to see you here. I don't know what that means. Hey, I'm off today, Craig. Okay. German. I think that says hello, but I have no idea, actually. What do you think about a sardine fast? Is the egg fast better or the same? Okay, here's the bottom line. Sardine fast is dumb. That's my personal opinion. I would never do a sardine fast, but I wouldn't actually do an egg fast. The thing that people forget about, a carnivore diet, if you're eating just meat products or animal products, which include, beef, chicken, fish, pork, eggs, butter, if you're eating all that, that's already a fasting mimicking diet. While you can get additional autophagy benefits from doing extra fasting on top of it, you don't have to. I mean, I still do intermittent fasting. I eat once a day. I did some extra one-day fast, which works out to a 48-hour fast when I was down in North Carolina. And but I can tell you, since coming home, I got to get a little drink of water here, folks. Sorry. Between all the stuff that I'm doing now that I'm home, between, the yard work and the gardening and going to the pool to work out and working out with the cable machine and the dancing and the push-ups and the stretching exercises and the wall pull-ups and the squats and everything that I'm doing, I have not fasted. I have not skipped a day of eating since I got home. Yes, I'm still just eating one meal a day. There's been a couple 3 days in there that I got really hungry, and I ended up eating another 3 or 4 burger patties because I got really hungry. But a carnivore diet is already a fasting mimicking diet. So while you might see some benefits from a sardine fast, and you might see some benefits from an egg fast, or you might see some benefits from a protein sparing modified fast, whatever the heck that is, you don't really have to do any of that. You can if you want to. Some people see benefits, some people don't. But eating a carnivore diet is already a fasting mimicking diet. So eat when you're hungry, eat till you're full, and then don't eat again until you get hungry again. And you'll be getting all of the benefits of fasting, except for perhaps some really long-term autophagy, which is where your body breaks down old cells and rebuilds them into new ones. And you can aid that with Stem Enhance Ultra. This is our weekly, I can't get it to focus. Come on, focus. Oh, well. There's a link down in the description to Cerule. This is our little 30-second sales pitch for the week. I'm not asking you to buy anything. Just click on the link, go to the website, look at the science behind the Cerule products, and then decide for yourself if it's something you might want to try. And this is not a quick fix. Just like the carnivore diet, you can't try it for 30 days and say, oh, didn't work, I'm done. You got to give it a full 6 months to see if you notice any difference. But that's my sales pitch for the week. And that's all there is to it. Go look at the science and decide if it's something you might want to try. But that's my thoughts on fasting, JM. More German being spoken. I learned German in college. I had the choice in high school between, they didn't offer German, or that's what I would have taken. It was French or Spanish. And had I known that we were going to need so much Spanish later in life with all of the stuff going on, I probably would have taken Spanish. But French is what I decided to take. And I had 4 years of French in high school. Now, what I don't tell people is that it was 4 years of freshman French. It took me 4 years to finally pass the 1 year of foreign language requirement. Something about the way my brain's wired, and I've heard this from many people, because my brain is wired in such a way that I easily understand computer programming and can do that without even really knowing what I'm doing. I do actually have a degree in computer science from way back in the early 80s. But something about the way the brain's wired, you're either good at computer programming, logic, or you can do foreign languages. It's something about it. It's hard to do both. And I apparently have one of those brains that I struggle with learning foreign language. I've had the Rosetta Stone package that I do about once a week, and I still can't speak a lick of Spanish. I can't even understand much of it. It just doesn't sink in for some reason. On the border of North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee, my road is a circle, half in Tennessee, half in Georgia. North Carolina is an arrow shot from my back door. Okay, now I know where you're at. You're down there in that extreme corner of Tennessee. That seems like it's probably a pretty nice place. And since you're in Tennessee, you get the advantages of not having a state income tax versus North Carolina and Georgia. Just my personal thought there. Same thing with Texas. Why I chose Texas over, like, say, Arizona. There's no personal income tax at the state level in Texas or in Tennessee. More German being spoken. Fantastic. Oh, he's talking to somebody else. Oops, not wearing my glasses. So you see, it's probably after dark over there. And saying where you're from, Mark. Okay, let's see here. Do I need to fast to get rid of visceral fat? I'm trying to do it as fast as possible. Why? Did you gain that visceral fat overnight? The problem with pushing too many things to try and lose weight as fast as possible rather than just letting your body do its own thing is that can lead to problems later on. Now, what those problems are, I can't really tell you because I haven't had any of them. Professor K speaks about that a lot. But no, you don't need to fast to get rid of visceral fat. You just need to continue eating a proper human diet, which is as low a carb as you can possibly get. In my case, I eat a carnivore diet, so I get very, very little carb. There's a little bit of carb in eggs, and I have 6 to 8 eggs a day. But that's it. There's a little bit of carb in eggs, and even some meats have just a tiny little bit. But get as low carb as you possibly can, and your visceral fat will melt away. May not happen overnight. I understand everybody that comes to this looking to lose weight wants to lose weight as fast as possible, but losing at a healthy, sustained rate is much better. And I found people, if you go watch Carnivore Quest, Larry did like a 20-day fast a couple, 3 months ago, and he lost like 8 pounds. But as soon as he broke the fast, almost overnight, he gained it all back because his body hadn't adjusted to it. So I would say just stick with a carnivore diet. And if you're not hungry, don't eat, and that will automatically add a little fasting in here and there. But just trust the process, and over the course of a year to a year and a half, your visceral fat will melt away and your subcutaneous fat will start to go down, and you'll be in a really good place a year from now if you just trust the process. Okay. Kismet's here. Hello, Bob. Better today. You got right out of bed, did chores all morning. I think your container plans sound awesome. I grew up in I got to read in what does it say? Oh, non-com housing. I like good solution. Yes. I think it's going to work out really well. And of course, by the time I get the roof on it, I can throw some solar panels up there, and I can also run some rain gutters across the front of it and use the roof for shade, rain collection, protection from the elements, all that stuff. It's going to be a pretty important roof. So I want to make sure I take my time and build it right. Born and raised in Poland, but living in the U.S., Illinois now. Yeah, I think I actually knew that. Let's see here. And of course, Craig's going to say the sardine fast is the best thing since sliced bread, but it's not. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, it must be a bird flu, but I have not started quacking yet. That's funny. These fasting trends. Don't. It's not some magic. Just do BBBE fast. Yes, just keep doing beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, or the complete carnivore diet or lion diet, whatever it is that's sustainable for you, whether it be beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, or the lion diet, which is just beef, salt, and water, or full carnivore, where you have fish and eggs and pork and some dairy if you tolerate it. It mimics fasting because you don't have those big glucose surges which make your insulin surge, and you'll be just fine. Talking to Charger Mopar, what do you think about the lion diet? Well, I think the lion diet's great. I did lion diet exclusively for about 9 months, and that's where I saw my best improvements. I stopped lion diet just a couple of months ago because I started adding some pork. Since I came, the last month I was down in North Carolina, whatever month that was. Time just kind of flies by when you're my age, but I guess that would have been April or so. I started buying some pork because there was a big surge in beef prices. And at the time down there, I could get pork for, $2.50 to $3 a pound. Here at home, I'm having even more pork, mostly buying whole pork butts, because I can get those for everyday price here for pork butt is about $1.99 a pound, and I've been finding them on sale for between $1.10 a pound and $1.30 a pound. So I've added a lot more pork into my diet since I've been in Omaha because it's significantly cheaper. Although when Fairway has their Fairway Zone ground beef sale, I get ground beef. They're in-store made 80/20 ground beef for $1.99 a pound. So I have freezers full of that now, right, too. But the lion diet is fantastic, provided you can stick to it. Doing lion diet 5 days a week and keto the other 2 days a week, you're not going to see the benefits of it. You need to, that's why I say whatever diet you can do consistently and sustain is where you want to be, because whatever benefits you're getting from a lower carb, or the further down the scale you slide towards lion or the further up you slide towards low carb, wherever you land in that you can maintain, then you'll see the slow, steady results. If you have, like I said, if you do lion diet 5 days a week, but you do full low carb the other 2 days a week, you're not going to see the benefits of doing the lion diet, so you may as well not go there. And he's still talking to antlers. And there we go. Okay. I do lion diet for autoimmune and CFS. Yes, it does a lot of that. I have basically cured all my ills with the lion diet. I won't say cured. I put into remission. My joints don't hurt. My shoulders work just fine. My hands work fine. I can go out and walk and do all the stuff I've been doing. When prior to starting this way of eating, I couldn't stand for 2 to 2.5 minutes without severe pain because of my spinal stenosis. There's more talking going on. Let's see what Jeannie has to say here. Doing very well now on almost exclusively beef with some lamb. Energy, mood better, digestion, elimination better. 2 years carnivore, 72-year-old woman eating twice a day. Yes, indeed. And for those that don't know, lamb is also a ruminant animal, so that qualifies under the lion diet. Because most influencers are from here in the States, and the most common ruminant animal is beef, because that's what's cheap and readily available. But you can do lamb, you can do elk, you can do deer, you can do bison. If you're in one of the countries where camel is a normal meat that you can get, camel is also a ruminant meat. There's a lot of ruminant meats out there. It doesn't have to be just beef. Generally willing to learn enough words of anything to be able to order a meal without making an arse of myself. I understand that. And that's why I have not been outside the United States or Canada unless the service took me there. And we weren't stopping to buy things in local stores when we were there. Let's just leave it at that. Did an MRI, found out I have 90% visceral fat around the liver and pancreas. Yeah, it'll go away. I mean, you've been living with this for so long. Just keep eating a very low carb diet, whether it be, keto, ketovore, carnivore, or lion diet. Just stay very low carb, and as your body heals, it will dump that visceral fat. You don't need to do anything special for that. It will just go away all on its own as your body approaches its optimum place. And in fact, because the visceral fat is the worst of the fats, that's the more dangerous to some of your organs, your body knows that. It's not dumb. It'll get rid of that first. So just get yourself into ketosis, get a little bit of movement in, get yourself in fat burning mode by eating a high-fat carnivore diet. I know that sounds counterproductive, but eat as much fat as you can until it basically comes rolling out the other end as urgent liquid stuff, because your body only makes just so much bile at a time. And when you exceed the amount of bile that your body when you exceed the amount of fats that you have bile for breaking down, it will rush right on through your system, not get absorbed, and create a bathroom situation on the other end. So that's how you can tell you've reached the cap of how much fat you can have at a meal. And that will get you into fat burning mode, and the rest of it will take care of itself. Just keep doing what you're doing. And reminder, this is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. Please consult with your physician before starting any diet or exercise program. Okay, back to the comments here. I believe I was there. Well, there's a lot of people that have a lot of things that they talk about. I mean, I understand the not putting sunscreen on your face or other chemicals, and then going out in the sun and letting the sun bake that into your skin. I understand that. I understand the using natural soaps as much as you can, but a little bit of toothpaste, the little bit of stuff that's in there, I'm assuming you're not swallowing the toothpaste. You're going to rinse it and spit it out anyway, so you may absorb a little bit of something, but that's that's a 5% or less problem, JM. Just eat the meat, add the salt, drink the water. That will get you to 90 to 95% of the way you want to go. Don't worry about all the little minutia 5% problems until it's time to worry about them. When you get down to, you're within 10 to 15 pounds of your ideal body weight, you're feeling great, that's the time to start worrying about little things like toothpaste and deodorant. I mean, yes, you should buy a deodorant if you're still using that doesn't have aluminum in it. If you're using skincare products, speaking of skincare products, if you really like skincare products, Rule also has a line of skincare products. I don't know anything about them because I'm a 60-year-old guy. I don't really pay that much attention to skincare products, but I've heard they're really good. But a little bit amount of toothpaste, I mean, if you really want to get rid of all that stuff, I mean, if you've got the intestinal fortitude for it, I've heard that brushing your teeth with baking soda works great. I still have Crest in there on my counter because that's what I use. But do whatever you think is right, but that's not something I would worry about at this stage of the game. Aren't complex carbs better than sugar since no insulin spike and slow release to use up some over hours? No. The short answer to that is no. Yes, complex carbs do not cause the big insulin spike that simple sugars do, but what you have to look at is the area under the curve. A simple sugar will give you a spike that goes like that. A complex carb may not go as high, but it stretches out for longer. So if you graph those two on a graph, you have to look, that's what's called the area under the curve. And if you look at those, you'll find that they are very similar to how much area there is. And while that area under the curve is present, you're doing glycation damage to your body. You're doing a lot of things to it. And I see Composition Consultant is in the house. And as I scroll down there, I'm assuming he's going to have something to say about that as well. Let me know, Jonathan, if I got any part of that wrong, but I believe that is why the exact requirements for exogenous carbohydrates in the human diet is not 1 gram ever. Any carbs that we actually need, our body makes through gluconeogenesis. So yes, the slow release, you don't get the huge spike, but you have to look at the total area under the curve to see how much damage you're causing your system. I hope that answers your question. Bob, you have not been sharing your steps with us. Would you please do that the second half of July? I can do that. I do have here, I've been adding my steps in. I'm not getting huge amounts of steps, but I'm counting all of the activities I'm doing as steps and adding that into the total. For those that want to know, I added it up just before we came onto this live, and as a channel, we are currently at 908,991 steps for the month of July. So I suspect either tomorrow on the 15th or the next day on the 16th, we will go over 1 million steps for the month as a channel. So we're doing really well with getting our steps in. I've been averaging between 3,000 and 5,000 actual steps a day, Craig, on top of everything else that I've been doing. And for me, 3,000 to 5,000 steps is not a lot, but on top of everything else that I do, that's been doing pretty good for me. Texas is so dry, so pleased that you're already planning on rainwater harvesting. Yeah, well, because it's either harvest rainwater or haul it. And I don't want to be in a situation where I have to go to town just because I'm running out of water. I have a hard time sleeping. Do you have any tips to sleep while fasting? Just before you go to bed, take a pinch of salt. Well, half hour or so before you go to bed. Take a pinch of salt, Redmond's real salt or any other actual salt, not the Morton Girl salt, not the Umbrella Girl, not any of the table salts that are out there, because those also, if you look, The second or third ingredient in all table salt is sugar. But get yourself some good salt, put a pinch or two on your tongue, wash it down. That burst of electrolytes just before you go to bed should help you sleep. Other than that, make sure you're blocking out blue light. I have a video about that. Make sure you're grounding. I have a video about that. And of course, eating a proper human diet and taking the cereal products, all of which will enhance your sleep. That's not a cause and effect claim. That's just what I have found. Professor K has a couple of really good videos on 5 hacks. It's in his 5 minutes or less videos. Something about 5 hacks for your health or whatever. Do all 5 of those, and they will help you sleep. So that's how you go about doing an extended fast if you really want to do that. And there's Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan. How are you today? And Hyla is also here. Hello, Hyla. I'm glad you made it. I don't think I would be happy living in a desert. It's a shame there aren't swamps that can be lived in. I understand. It depends on the person, JM. My A1C was improved, but still not great at the 1 month mark, because that's just where my testing schedule fell. But then at the 7 month mark, which was 6 months later, my A1C was 4.8. But everybody's different. I've heard some people, depending on how long you've been hovering at that 6.5 to 7 level, it could take a year or two to get your A1C all the way down. But just keep trusting in the process. You just have to, everybody's body is different. You have to keep, with the program, keep eating low carb, and trust the process, because your A1C will come down if the only glucose you're getting is what your body makes through gluconeogenesis. It can't stay up because your body will not make too much unless you're eating just ungodly amounts of protein, which is really hard to do if you're eating the muscle meat of large ruminant animals with the associated fat. It's very hard to overeat as long as you leave the fat attached to the meat, because fat is very satiating. I won't say it's impossible to overeat, but it's extremely hard and usually nauseating to try and overeat. Visceral fat is often the culprit when you hear about thin, healthy people suddenly having cardiac issues or liver problems. Yes, it's the buildup, and it's caused the same way all other fat is caused. Visceral fat in some people happens first without any adipose tissue on the outside showing, because it's very easy for the body to store fat around the liver and other organs. It takes a little extra work to get it out, like, your belly fat and your arm fat and your butt fat and all that other stuff. The body has to work a little harder to do that, so it fills up the easy spots first. Okay, did that already. Here in Indiana, pork butt usually goes on sale for $1.99 a pound. I'll buy a couple and grind them into burnt. Yeah, for some reason, pork butts have been really cheap out here. I mean, I still have a couple of whole pork butts and a couple of whole pork loins in my freezer that I got for like $1.39 a pound. So I bought them. And doctors usually count on red cells and living in. Okay, that's an answer to JM, and there's another answer to JM. And John is here. Hello, Bob and all. Just walked in the door. At least I can catch the tail end. Yes, indeed. I'm glad you're here, John. Glad you made it. A lot of people answering JM. And then Bert is here. Says hello to John. Still a half an hour to go. I like the haircut, Bob. Makes you look much younger. I'm kind of indifferent. I like when my hair is a little bit longer than this, But after 6 months, when it's time to cut it again, it gets a little too long and it sticks out in the back. And so when this is over, if you back up, I explain the whole process of cutting my hair every 6 months because it's cheaper than going to a barber shop. I just do it myself with a set of clippers I bought. To recap a couple of things that I started off with for those that haven't been here for the whole thing, it's 1 day less than 2 weeks till the Omaha get-together at the mini golf course. I've only got a couple of people signed up for that, so if you're coming, please let me know via the email address on the screen so I make sure I have enough burgers for everybody. I'm not going to cancel it no matter what. Well, if it's storming, I'll still probably be out there. It may be hard to grill hamburgers if it's storming, but I'm still going to be out there the day before the Omaha Hard to Kill Summit. So if you want to stop by and you want to have burgers, make sure you let me know that you're coming so I can have enough burgers for you. Just sign up at SemiRetiredBob@yahoo.com. There's no cost to come out and talk and eat burgers. Miniature golf is going to be like 2 games for $8. It's dirt cheap for a couple hours of entertainment. So come on out. Also on Sunday, July the 23rd at 5 p.m. Central is my members only Zoom call. So you still have time to get in on that. If you can drop down below the video, click the join button. For just a couple bucks donation to the channel, you can join the channel and get in on that Zoom call on Sunday, July the 23rd at 5 p.m. Central. And our total steps for the month so far as a channel is 908,991. So sometime in the next couple of days, we're going to go over 1 million steps as a channel for the month. Good job, guys. I have some earth paste from Redmond's. It does a good job, but has charcoal in it, and black gets all over the sink. It's a mess. See, it all depends on what you're looking to do. I like earth paste products from Redmond's Real Salt. Alrighty. See, and Mike agrees with me. It's all about the area under the curve. Pancreas releasing less of insulin, but over a long amount of time, so the total work done by is the same. If you're insulin resistant, there's not a better carb. John Boston is here. Hope all is well. How you doing today, John? I hope everything's going well out there too. And Hyla says butter helps her sleep. So instead of just a pinch of salt, try eating a pat or 2 of butter. I'm not big on just butter out of the fridge, but if you cut it up into little bite-sized chunks and put it in the freezer so that you eat a frozen chunk of butter, that's getting awfully close to a butter ice cream, and that's actually not too bad. And a couple chunks of that might help you sleep. Something else to consider and try. Question, fermented things aren't too bad. How about non-alcoholic beer? Beer is fermented, so is wine. I have no answer to that. That's the one thing. Now, I've never experimented with it because I do know one of the few things that they talk about with gout that is absolutely true. Gout and alcohol do not mix. The one piece of advice that I got from the doctor right after I got out of the service in 1983, he said to me, the long and the short of this is that you can either drink alcohol or you can walk. You can't do both. So I just have never really had alcohol. I did have a bunch of alcohol on my 30th birthday and felt so terrible. Couldn't walk for 2 days. Felt bad for a week. And my 30th birthday is the last time I've had anything to drink at all. So I can't really answer that. I don't know. I do know that many of the so-called non-alcoholic beers do still have a little bit of stuff in them. So if you want to put those chemicals in your body, all I can say is try it and see how you do with it. But I don't really have an opinion on that. Hello, Aaliyah. Alia? I think it's Alia. Whatever. I did an interview with her that came out about a week ago, guys. If you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. It's worth watching. My grocery store had a great buy on pork chops and chicken breasts. I missed the fat trying to add butter. Yes. And with like chicken breasts and things like that, coat them in butter before you bake them. or if you're going to fry them up in the skillet, use bacon grease or lots of butter, and then still dump more butter, melted butter, over the top of them, because chicken breasts are very lean and not nearly enough fat. Good pork chops will have that good ring of fat around the outside, so they should be much better for you. And it's people talking to other people and more people talking to JM. I haven't been to a barber in years. I just use a set of hair clippers and I'm good to go. Yep, exactly right. And Bert talking to Crafty and Carnivore-ish. Okay, if anybody has any more questions, now's the time, because I've actually made it to the bottom of the chat. Oh, there we go. I've never been to a barber. My dad cut my hair until I moved away and figured out how to cut my own hair. Yep, I understand that. I had never done it myself because, back in the day when I lived in Southern Ohio, the barber on the corner, I remember it was a big deal. He apologized that he had to go from $4 to $5 for a haircut. But it had to do with the cost of the taxes on his building that he'd owned for decades. He just couldn't. He had to go to $5 a haircut, which tells you how long ago that was. And it just kept going up and up when I moved out here to Omaha. And I guess it would have been about, I want to say it was about 95 or 96 when I bought my clippers, started cutting my own hair, and have never looked back. Okay. Yes, it's amazing what butter can do. I definitely agree. I don't think I've missed anything. So if you have any other questions or comments or anything, now's the time to get them in, because we're getting down towards the end of it. We've got about 10 to 12 minutes left. So let's see what else we got going on here. It says, hi everyone. If you said hi, I am listening but still working, so can't fully be in the chat. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you're listening at least. And again, if you guys haven't seen her channel, go check her out. Oh, there is one more person I want you guys to go look up. He's just getting started on his journey. He's a few months in. He talks a little slow, but he's actually putting some pretty good videos out there. If you have not found Bubba Rob yet, I don't have a link for him or anything, but just go out there and search Bubba Rob. You'll find him. Got a pretty good channel. And it'll be a while before it actually comes out, but I'm getting together with him, I think, next week to have a little chat. For those of you that have seen my interviews, as Hyla can attribute to, because she has gone through the process, and Aaliyah as well, I record those quite a bit in advance. Sometimes I'll record 2 or 3 a week, but I tend to only put out one at a time, one every week. So it can take a while for those to come out, but I certainly do. So I've got an interview coming up with Bubba Rob in about a week, I think it is, but he will probably be releasing sometime in early to mid-August. But yeah, go check out Bubba Rob if you haven't yet. I personally don't use it because I don't have good effects with it, but if you have no reaction to it, it's fine. Dairy is carnivore. It comes from an animal. Cow's milk, goat milk, sheep's milk, I think is the thing, whatever. Almond milk is not milk. All of the fake milks are not milk. In fact, there are a few countries now that prohibit them calling them. They have to name them something else because they are now prohibited in some countries from labeling it as almond milk, because it is not milk. It has to be from a dairy to be considered milk. Butter is wonderful. I use butter all the time. That's dairy. I don't use heavy whipping cream, but a lot of people use heavy whipping cream, especially in their coffee. I have no problem with dairy. If you don't have a reaction to it, by all means use dairy. It's entirely up to you. I would try, again, this all goes back to the elimination diet. I would do as strict of lion diet as you can for at least 60 days. That'll get you to a really solid baseline to where then you can add in one food at a time and see if your body has a reaction to it. And I do know what Bert's saying here. I see he's talking about no carb life. Yes, Dave did a great video yesterday for everyone who's unsure about Carnivore. Go see it. Yeah, Dave, if you guys aren't watching Dave on No Carb Life, what are you doing with your life? Dave is fantastic. I've had him on this channel. I've been on his channel. He's a fantastic guy, lives over in Japan, but I believe he's Australian by birth. But he does a lot of great videos. You should definitely check him out. But dairy, he actually was doing great, eating basically just ground beef, eggs, and cheese. He was having a discussion with Carnivore Kip, cut the cheese out of his life. I know, I just said cut the cheese on the air. All of us that are 5 years old or younger can giggle for a moment, and then we can go on with stuff. Dave cut cheese out of his life and was amazed at how good he felt just cutting the cheese out of his life for 30 days. So he hasn't put it back in. I see Hyla just said, got to go by. So there we go. She couldn't find it. She was going to share it. I'll find it and put it in the comments at some point here, guys. I was in Charleston this week, did about 20,000 steps, took a tour of the USS Yorktown. They had a Mitchell bomber there, which is the type plane they used in the Doolittle raid. Impressive. Yes, I have not actually been on a tour of the USS Yorktown, but I've seen quite a few of those old ships around. They're in various ports around the country. That's a good one. And if you're going on a big thing like the Yorktown, it takes about 20,000 steps to go through the whole tour. I don't do HIIT or sprinting. I'm not stable enough for that yet. But I walk in chest deep water in the swimming pool at the Y twice a week as hard as I can for about a half hour. That's like weight training while you're walking through chest deep water. I also use a cable machine 2 days a week at the Y, which I talk about in videos, which is doing upper body strengthening exercises because we're trying to get some strength back into my shoulders. I do push-ups, wall pull-ups, squats. I push a lawnmower around my yard. Because of all the rain we've been getting, I've been doing it a couple of times a week. In fact, if you tune in to tomorrow's video, you might actually see some lawn mowing footage. I don't do HIIT. I don't do sprinting. You can if you want. Sprinting, as I understand it, you should just sprint as hard and as fast as you can until it wears you out. Stop, rest for a couple minutes, and then sprint back the other way. You probably won't make it all the way home because you should get tired quicker on the second sprint, and then you're done. And that's a good way to train for sprinting. I'm going to do some of that later. Right now, I'm still working on my core and my balance and some other stuff. I feel like I could, while trying to sprint, I feel like I could fall. And while falling on the grass is okay, falling on concrete is not such a good idea. I don't drink cow juice either. Alrighty, and that's where I read ahead and saw that she had to go. Let's see what we got here. Craig Emmerich was on the Meat Mafia podcast recently and broke down why we are carnivores perfectly. Check it out if you have a chance. Yeah. And well, Professor K and Dr. Chafee and Dr. Baker, all of those people have covered it quite well. But I'll check that out. Meat Mafia Podcast is another one that I watch on occasion when I'm out of stuff to watch from everybody else. There's just so many people. I can't possibly keep up with everybody I like in the carnivore space. I'm a new fan of Coach Stefan and Richard since the 24-hour. Yeah, I've been watching a little bit of their stuff, and again, it's hard to keep up with everybody, and I tend to keep up with people like, Hyla at Crafty and Carnivore-ish and Bubba Rob, and all of my subscribers that have started channels. I try to catch up on their stuff first, because I feel like the smaller, my view on a smaller channel has much greater impact on the smaller channels than me, tuning into another, me being just one of several thousand people watching the show. That's my theory on it. So I keep up with the people I'm trying to support really well, and then catch up with the other ones as I can. My grocer had a deal on oat milk. You should send that all to Rick to feed to his ducks, or you should just dump it out. I'm sure you're just joking, because there's no such thing as oat milk. There is such a thing as oat juice or oat water, whatever you want to call it, or oats mixed with chemicals to make it look white, but there's no such thing as oat milk. Walked 4,000 steps today. Good job, Jeannie. John says, Bob, I can send you pics and video of the Yorktown. I was all over that ship. It took a few hours to go through it. Those men who worked on those ships were really true heroes. Absolutely. And I'd be very interested in seeing those. Do resistance training and afterwards do a few rounds sprinting on elliptical on the hardest resistance level machine can offer. Even 30-second round gasses me out. Yeah. That's one of the things to do. How does one do a wall pull-up? Well, you stand next to a doorway, and then you lean back as far as you can, and then you pull yourself forward. That's a way of doing like a bicep exercise without actually having barbells. That's what I do that's what I call a wall pull-up. The closer you can get your whole body to the wall, the farther back you go, the better it is. The higher up you move your hand on the wall, the harder it is. You'll just have to play with it. And that's talking to Craig. No. I mean, I've introduced all the foods I'm going to introduce, really. I will occasionally have some sausages. I will occasionally have some shrimp. But mostly I eat beef and eggs. The occasional sardine, because Craig sent them to me. I feel like I should eat them because Craig sent them to me. But about once every other week, I'll throw a can of sardines in something just to get them used up and out of the house. But no, I get complete nutrition. And in fact, I believe it was just yesterday's video or the day before, I talked about food variety and why I don't need it. I just don't need food. I don't need variety of food in my life. I just don't. But if you do, I have several videos on this channel. There are 360 videos on this channel now, by the way, where you can reintroduce food. It tells you how to do it one at a time over a long period of time, so you can tell if you have any effects from it. Yeah, thanks. No, I do not. Olive oil, coconut oil. I don't use any oils. Now, granted, olive oil and coconut oil are okay as long as you're not cooking with them. You don't want to heat them up too far because they have a much lower smoke point. I don't know about coconut oil. I've only seen this on olive oil. If you're spraying a little dusting of olive oil on your food like a salad, that's probably okay. But if you heat olive oil too much, it oxidizes, just like a vegetable seed oil comes pre-oxidized. I don't know anything about coconut oil. I've heard it's really good. I've heard it's 99% saturated fat. I don't use any of that stuff because I have plenty of tallow and lard and butter in the house. I don't need those. So no, I don't actually use any olive oil or coconut oil. I did use olive oil when I first started, but I don't. I used up what little bit I had left and have never bought it again ever since I found out that heating it up was a bad thing. And I think it was cooking my eggs in olive oil that caused my initial reaction to eggs. It wasn't the eggs, it was actually the olive oil that made me think that the eggs were making me sick to my stomach. I like to have meat cookies in the fridge and work really well for me. Sardines, I only do the boneless, skinless ones. I can't stand the other ones. Seasons brand is the only one I buy. Excellent. And we're now a little bit over time. I'm going to have to cut it off here. Let's see here. I don't think it's needed at small doses. I think it's okay at small doses, but Dr. Baker doesn't use any organs. Dr. Chafee doesn't use organs. I don't use organs. Some people do fine with organs. Some people don't. Professor K has a really good video where he talks about where he doesn't actually think it's organ meat is dangerous due to vitamin A toxicity, because there's actually only been one case of vitamin A toxicity ever from eating too much liver, and that's a guy that ate a polar bear's liver and died from it due to vitamin A toxicity. That's not the problem. Copper toxicity is the problem. But as long as you're eating it in an appropriate amount, as in if you look at the ratios between a liver versus all of the other parts of the cow, you get having a couple ounces of liver once a week is not going to hurt you. Other than that, you'll have to use your own judgment. I personally do not use liver. I have plenty of coconuts here. The iguana's favorite defense weapon. Absolutely. And then there's John Boston talking to Craig and Kismet talking to JM. I hope everybody enjoyed today's live. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.